Okay, great. We are live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Lola or Olena. I am content manager at LiveArt. And for those who are new and never heard before of LiveArt, I will just make a quick introduction. So LiveArt is a Web3 platform for art. We have trading floor where you can purchase and sell blue chip art by some of the top blue chip artists. We also have art price database, which is powered by AI. So if you feel like it, just go to LiveArt website and you would be able to find some of the world's most known artists with detailed sales breakdowns, sale results. And we also do sales breakdown after each major auction sale. And so as a part of our Web3 mission, we onboard traditional artists to Web3 and last summer, we had a major drop with Yumin Jun, the Boundless collection. Yumin Jun is one of the world's most known Chinese artists. He even was named as a Person of the Year by Times Magazine. And our most recent drop was made with Chris Levine. He is an amazing artist, and we were super excited because the collection was revealed last week. And next upcoming week, our holders would have the possibility to claim their physical prints signed by the artist. And so we are here today with some of the, I think, key opinion leaders to talk about this theme. We will be talking about Web3 trends and Web3 marketplaces and how they adapt to these trends. I have here James Richard with me. He's the marketing lead at Rarible, Jessica Marinaro from MakersPlace, and Marco Morazzoni, founder of Semoto. I am super happy to be in this amazing company. And if you guys can just briefly introduce yourself and tell us more about what you do, what is your background?
Jessica, ladies first.
Thank you very much. Well, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Olena. Thank you to LiveArt for organizing this this great discussion. Great to be here with James and Marco. My name is Jessica Marinaro, and as mentioned, I am a senior director at MakersPlace. I work very closely with the artists and sort of the creator side of the ecosystem on our marketplace, bringing them onto the platform, strategizing with them on their releases, strategies, and then also on obviously acquisition and sales. My background is actually in more of the traditional art space. I've worked in the New York art world for almost 2 decades in fine art galleries and with other technology startups. I have my own advisory practice as well, where I work with private collectors on acquisitions, but also institutions in mostly the creative tech space. I've worked with a few startups and venture-backed, VC-backed companies. Very, very passionate about digital creators and supporting them, championing them, and amplifying the amazing work that they do in this very innovative field.
I love it. Marco, you get to go next because I'm tagging you in.
Fair enough. Thanks a lot. So thanks, Elena, for having me. Marco Morazzoni from Semoto. We're a marketplace of service providers. So we come from a slightly different angle in supporting the artist. We combine the top law firms, accountant, insurance provider. So a bunch of services that can support the artist in going live and after releasing their collection. I have a bit of a financial background myself. I started in derivatives and equity back in the days, start executing on crypto, fall into the rabbit hole of blockchain, and I've been in the space for several years now.
Awesome. And thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Marco. My name is James. I lead our marketing efforts at Rarible. Rarible is the NFT company. We work primarily in 3 verticals. We have a marketplace, which is maybe what most people know us for, the OG marketplace in the space. Lots of creators, NFTs have been come through Rarible, which is a lot of fun. We also have a vertical marketplace builder where we work with a lot of kind of major enterprises and brands, folks like Mattel with their Barbie collection and Hot Wheels collection, McFarlane Toys, as well as Fox, a lot of like major brands who are coming into this space and they see a lot of opportunity in Web3. We partner with them to help them have a successful entry into the space, unlike maybe some that we've seen who haven't done such a great job. We won't name names during this call, obviously. Thank you so much. And then we also have our API offering where we encourage anyone who's a builder to come in and build with us through our NFT API. It's one of the fastest indexers on the market, but maybe more importantly, it's multi-chain equipped. So we're ready for kind of the scalability of L2s and L3s, and we're putting tools in the hands of builders to build the future of what it means to democratize ownership in the space. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do.
That's super impressive, James. Even like talking about it, I think this week I read a news that you partnered with Forbes Web3. If you can tell us more, I think you selected some artists to make a fantastic drop, like emerging artists. How was it? Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, we work with the team at Forbes Web3. Mani Patel is a very good friend of mine. She's the VP of head of Web3 there, and she and the team really they approached this space. What happened was they messaged us about 7-8 months ago and they said, hey, we're interested in coming into Web3, but we have seen a lot of companies do it poorly and we don't want to do that. So what they did is they took the posture of saying, we want to learn from the OGs who have been here. We want to learn from the people who've been the market makers from the beginning and understand what does it mean to enter Web3 and add value instead of just come in and extract value like a lot of businesses do. And so what they did was they kicked off their Web3 entry with a partnership with Rarible, where we launched an art contest with them. We had over 2,600 entrants. It was far beyond our KPIs that we set. We were really excited about what happened through that at really what was like kind of the tail end of the bear market. Knock on wood here, that we're coming out of that bear market. We selected top 10 finalists. They each won an artist grant. The top prize was 4,000 Matic, and then scaling kind of down from there. And each of those artists did a drop with us on our new layer 3 blockchain that we launched about 5 weeks ago called Rarichain. Rarichain is an L3 stack built on Arbitrum. And the key difference between Rarichain and other kind of L2s, L3s is that we have royalties embedded at the node level. Code is law, so that means if a transaction tries to skip royalties in a payment for trading or buying an NFT, that transaction will fail. It won't even bother to go through. So that's what Rarichain is, and these artists have all launched on Rarichain. Our second place winner, their open edition just went live 8 minutes ago, and our first place winner will go live tomorrow, which will wrap up that campaign. But just a major shout out to Mani and the team at Forbes, because they took the posture of saying we want to support artists. And if you look at their wallet, you look at their account, they are collecting art from artists. If you connect your wallet to the Forbes Web3 website, you get free access to digital articles. They've done a really good job of saying we want to add value to the space. And we're excited to see what comes next from them.
Thank you so much. I think like a few amazing topics to touch upon. I think creator royalties, and it's super nice that Rarichain supports them. Important discussion in the space, and artistic selection. So I was wondering also how MakersPlace does it. On MakersPlace, I think you have a more curatorial approach on how you select the artists you work with. Is this right, Jessica? If you can tell us a little more. And I think considering your amazing artist background in the art world, I think you can tell us more about it.
Definitely. Well, as you can imagine, also MakersPlace was very early, in coming into this space, and it was one of the first platforms, and premium platforms where it's curated and people needed to apply to be part of our community as creators. But being so kind of, being early on in the space, there has been a lot of interest, and there continues to be an incredible amount of interest in people joining our community. So we're very fortunate that we have a lot of inbound requests to participate. We do have a pretty rigorous system where we want to be mindful to bring on, very serious creators and ones who we feel would do well on the platform. So we do have a curatorial approach. We have a committee also who reviews all of the inbound submissions from artists all over the world. Myself is on it, in addition to some of our other curatorial team, folks from our marketing and editorial space as well. But also then, as you can imagine, we pound the pavement and we have our eyes on certain creators. And myself, Caitlin Cruikshank, who is our other senior director, Kat Zielinski, who's our head of concierge, Kayvon Ghaffari, our head of business. We are constantly sort of scouring, different art fairs and going to studios, interacting with folks in the metaverse and trying to locate the most innovative and interesting artists and projects, and then inviting them to participate and join MakersPlace. And we have different sort of tiers of participation. We have the general marketplace, where people can mint and import their own tokens. We have all kinds of incredible features that allow creators the flexibility to present their work in the most the most customized, I guess, way. But we are also very bullish on presenting the works in public spaces. So an approach that we have going forward is a bit more premium, where we're doing fewer sort of events, but larger scale. So you'll see us at NFT Paris this week. We are very excited to be headed to Dubai next week with an initiative that I'm championing at Art Dubai Digital. We're going to be in Miami. We did Hong Kong Digital Art Fair last year. So we are really excited to, every time we go to a new place, to meet artists in that geographic region, and then also have the opportunity to amplify the projects that they're doing in the digital space in a more impactful IRL way.
Yeah, thank you so much for covering this. At Web Art, we also aim to do a lot of in real life events, and it feels like last time we did an activation during Art Basel Miami, and this is just a story from my head. So we were hosting for I think a year Twitter Spaces. And when I was in Miami during our live event, I knew we had a collector from Hong Kong, and I'm based in Eastern Europe. And so I see him coming to me, and he was like, I know your voice. I've been following your Twitter Spaces. And at this moment, I understood that back then, when I was sitting at home in Eastern Europe, I would have never imagined meeting this person in real life. And I feel like this gives you this connection to the community. Amazing point. And also James Y from NFT Paris, which is super cool. I just wanted to quickly.
It's so funny because I just met some friends who I've only ever known them as their PFP. There's a mutant ape, there's a punk, there's a few different of these PFPs, and I finally saw them for the first time in real life today. I was like, oh, you're taller than I expected you to be. It's just kind of like this moment of you're a human being too, not just your PFP.
Exactly. And have you actually find any correlation between PFP and the person in real life?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, because some people are trying to make some, matches when they pick a PFP on secondary.
So it's not like owning a dog that you ended up looking a little bit like your own dog, right? It's completely different.
Exactly. Marco, I want to jump into you. I think you can share some practical financial tips in the space. For example, how to avoid financial crimes in crypto assets when you're just a normal, regular user and stuff like that. I think your experience and case studies would be extremely valuable to know.
Thanks. That's an interesting point, actually. For a few years, I've been working in the data analytics and tracing part of blockchain. I was working for one of the largest provider of anti-money laundering tools in the space. We did actually some really good piece of research on the use of NFT connected to financial crimes and money laundering. And I think what is important to notice here is that there is a lot of bad press. Sometimes people that are out of the space think that there are drug cartels just using NFTs to launder assets. Big companies like Elliptic, Chainalysis, they have done a lot of studies in the space, and the reality is NFTs are such a tiny percentage of the crypto assets that have been used to launder money that is neglectable, to be honest, compared to real world financial product or traditional cash. Is even a smaller percentage. It's nothing to do with it. But saying that, big providers and the artist itself, they have to be conscious when it comes to the assets that they receive in exchange for that art, because the potential of a criminal organization using it as a way to launder assets is always there. So there are different tools that can be used to trace the assets, to trace the portfolios, the wallets that are buying your art, that can be implemented. Realistically, from a legal point of view, only in few cases the risk lies on the artist itself, is more on the marketplace, the ecosystem that is collecting those fees for the artist, to make sure that the wallets that are interacted with are compliant. But there are plenty of investigators that can support in case of something goes wrong. And part of what Semoto does is to provide also that type of coverage. We have seen multiple legal cases multiplying throughout the years, where lawyers have to intervene in case of arts being stolen, used for all the wrong reasons. So this is when law enforcement steps in. Different lawyers with litigation background or asset recovery background can support you in your claims. But yeah, my point and what I would like to pass as a message is that despite the scaremongering in the industry, NFTs are not a bad assets. They're not connected, as people think, to illicit transaction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marco. Yeah, and can you tell us more about how Semoto works with this? So just to give a quick intro, Semoto is a company founded by Marco, and if you can just guide us through the methodology and how you work with this.
Absolutely. And without going into the multiple use case, let's focus on the artist parts. Throughout the life of an artist, obviously the focus tends to be on the creative process, how to launch, how to market the collection, and this is where people like James and Jessica can add a ton of value in help you growing your product. Realistically, though, once you launch or while you are in the process of launching, there are real world type of problem that you cannot escape as an investor, as an artist, or even as a marketplace directly. There might be legal question on if you need to set up an entity, in which jurisdiction it might be more favorable to do it. There are tax requirements. What am I going to do once I collect the rewards of selling my collection? What about the royalties? Can be, if you're running a company, can be insurance related to the art itself, cybersecurity, director insurance. So what the artists tend to face is a world of questions that they will need to face sooner or later. The problem that we've noticed is the blockchain industry, all of the Web3 industry being so fragmented. It's extremely hard for the artists and different players to find the right support. First, because they tend to rely only on word of mouth, and it's just not good enough. You need to compare. You need to go negotiate with multiple players in order to pick the right one. And more importantly, there are so many wannabe experts out there that claim just via their LinkedIn title to be blockchain experts, right? And they don't know what they're talking about. We have seen so many times accountant taking on a piece of work for an NFT artist, claiming to be able to handle royalties, for example, or other piece of work, and they made a mess, causing the artist big fines, problems. and more cost in legal fees. So being able to deal with an expert, I think, is extremely important. And this is when Semoto steps in. We have vetted, we have listed the top players under those 5 verticals: legal, marketing, insurance, consulting into strategy, tokenomics, white paper, and accounting as well. And this is where we can provide you all the support that you need to launch your collection and to keep growing with confidence.
Thank you so much, Marco, for sharing. I just want to jump quickly to another topic. I am curious to find out from James or Jessica, actually from both of you guys. So in this space, the secondary market is extremely important, and this is what your guys are dealing with like daily. And I'm curious, how are you trying to balance in between making the secondary market convenient for creators and at the same time for the collectors? What's your approach working for both collectors and collectors with your secondary marketplaces?
James, why don't you take that one first?
Okay, that sounds good. It's an interesting topic, because I think that when you look at what it means to have a successful platform for artists and creators, it means that you also have created a good user experience for collectors. What good is a marketplace for artists and creators if there's no liquidity for their artwork, right? Like, we need buyers to be there to transact, to be buying and trading and selling, and that's like been pinnacle for our Rarible marketplace. If you go to rarible.com today, the marketplace is very active. Like, there's lots of activity there, but the big piece is that we've been improving over time what it looks like to, as a collector, come into the space and transact, not just from the level of like, okay, we have Ethereum, but also offering other layer 2s and layer 3s that are more gas efficient. For example, a good reason for Rarichain to be on Arbitrum and to be a layer 3 is that even when Gwei is pumping and it's high, which it has been because we've been flirting with 3K, for the last 24, 48 hours, like, as that happens, Gwei prices go up because there's a lot more activity on Ethereum. But if you abstract that gas price away through building an L2, that lowers that transaction fee goes lower. You put that on an L3 and gas becomes almost a non-factor in these buying and selling of NFTs. For example, I minted one 2 or 3 days ago, and it cost me 4 cents in gas fees, which is just like, I don't love saying this out loud, but the amount of money I wasted on gas in 2021, like during major bull run last cycle, I spent so much money on gas chasing these mints. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm really glad that the technology has continued to advance. That benefits collectors too, because if you remove things like gas or slow transaction fees, then collectors are more keen to be active traders and to be actively collecting artwork. And so that's probably one of the major focuses as we look at technology to kind of solve those answers for us. Good design is helpful, yes, like having a strong reputation, having a strong marketing plan, those things are all important, but those things get people to the marketplace. And what we want to do is we want that experience in the marketplace to be smooth, frictionless, to be easy for buyers, for sellers to come in and experience what it is to collect art without feeling the pain points what really the NFT space has kind of grown accustomed to. Because if we don't remove those hurdles today, then we won't onboard the next million users, because maybe some of us today were very resilient and we're used to those friction points, but there are a lot of users who would come in and they'd say, yeah, we're not going to put up with that. We're not going to deal with $100 gas fee for a piece of art that costs $50. Like, that's just not going to transact for most people. And so we want to improve that so that we can pave the way for onboarding the next million, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users into the space.
That's great. I think that's wonderful, and I think it's so important, James. To your point, the making it as frictionless as possible, and really enabling that kind of very pleasant and hopefully cost-effective user experience. I think at MakersPlace, we are also, obviously dedicated to having a good UX and streamlining some of the costs that are baked into the acquisition of digital art. But we also take a little bit more of a white glove approach. So we have, and Elena, you had asked me about this before, but we have a division, a team working on private sales and what we call MakersPlace Concierge. So we're kind of taking cues from the auction model. A lot of our staffers are ex-Sotheby's folks. So what we see works well, in addition to having the tools on the marketplace itself, is this kind of, we have a collector base, some of whom are very interested in private sales, and we're able to acquire works of art for them privately through our network of other collectors, and also other artists, even other marketplaces, and sometimes even at auction. So this white glove service is really kind of a seamless way for a more personalized approach and a more personalized buying experience. Because again, as a marketplace, we've always been very creator forward and creator focused, but the other half of the ecosystem is the collectors, and we have to make sure that we're empowering them and enabling them to purchase the works that's underwriting the careers of these amazing artists.
Exactly. I love this approach. We have similar one with traditional physical artworks at Live Art. We have the trading floor, and basically every time a person wants to sell something, them give us a direct, precise description of the artwork, and then we are trying to find a buyer. And in the other direction, they give us precise idea of what they want to purchase, even like detailed, and their budget, and we are trying to find a seller for them. And I love this approach. And Jessica, I also, like this week, I opened a Twitter and I saw your tweet on MakersPlace announcing your private sales. If you can just tell us more about it. I know you already did, but it feels super exciting, and I think I've never seen it before in the digital art space.
Yes, absolutely. And that program, I want to give credit to my colleague, Kat Zielinski, who's the head of client relations. And this is really an initiative that she spearheaded, partially coming out of the demand from the clients that she works with, but also kind of looking to the future and a way to help onboard new collectors into the space who have a bit more of a traditional approach to collecting. And so something that we are actually debuting at NFT Paris, we are kind of championing this, and we have works on the secondary market. We're showing a selection of Urs Fischer's Chaos Series works. We have an incredible piece called Laundry Day by Osinachi. And then we have a phenomenal work also by Jenny Pasanen. And these are works that are actually, I think, they are all, these are all available on the secondary market. We have close relationships with the collectors, and it just provides kind of another way to collect and a more personalized way to do it. And it also kind of opens up the ecosystem and allows us to interact with other platforms. I mean, I think, there's such a proliferation of amazing work on Rarible, on Live Art, on other marketplaces through artists directly. And I think all kind of working together, anything that we're doing that's supporting the artists across the different marketplaces is going to benefit everybody. So that's sort of the thinking behind that.
This is why I love the space. You never are the competitors, you are their partners or friends. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. Love this thought. Marco, jumping back to you, if you can just tell us how you adapt to new trends, what are some latest trends you have seen in this market, and yeah, how do you process with this?
On our end, what we are seeing is more adoption at NFT level from, and I'm going to be the boring one in the room. I know you guys deal with crazy cool artists, but I deal more with the fintech guys, unfortunately for me. But the technology behind is getting adopted. There is the attention of the big players. Now, it's not been embraced fully, for sure, But there are people making the first steps. We've seen Goldman Sachs and Nomura announcing to dip their toes into NFTs. We have seen JP Morgan buying a space into the metaverse to buy and sell NFTs. Signum in Europe is probably the one that is more advanced between these. They have managed to start almost their own marketplace, facilitating for clients to buy and sell NFTs in a more secured way. Now, the interesting part is the NFT as a piece of technology has huge potential when it comes to traditional finance. What a bank will be able to do via NFT will be to securitize mortgages, to take care of loans. So it's a great piece of technology, and adoption can benefit a lot of people. More importantly, from the artist point of view, the beauty of more adoption reflects also on using your collection, the pieces you have done and you own yourself, potentially as a collector, as collateral. Because the more they get adopted, the more the bank embrace it, and they can provide you even with that custody service. It means that all of a sudden, Jessica or James, that they are big collectors of art, they will be able to go to their banks and say, okay, I want to buy a new house. Here is my collection of NFT. These are 3 or 4 pieces that I want to put down as a collateral. So the crossing of these two worlds is inevitable, in my opinion, and we are going to see it in the next decade for sure.
So your prediction is this approach, just your example, Jessica, James, going to the bank and using their assets as a collateral, for example, would take around a few decades to develop and to work properly, right?
Hopefully not few decades. Is definitely accelerating. More and more people are letting you collateralize your NFT. There are great companies in the States and over here in Europe that let you do it, but is over collateralized, so you ended up still paying a lot of interest on it. So more adoption will speed up the process. I would say the next decade.
The next decade. Wow, this is impressive and super exciting. Okay, I want to get back to James. Tell us more about your activation during NFT Paris. What are you doing? What are you up to? What are you planning to visit to? Not just Rarible's activations, because we have also, we also have our Solidity team lead joining NFT Paris this year, and I couldn't make it, unfortunately, and I'm so excited. He promised me to share everything that is happening there. Yeah.
Well, I will say most of NFT Paris is wet right now. It is quite rainy. It is just a rainy season, but we aren't actually like putting on any events at NFT Paris. We are at ETH Denver. So if you are interested, if you're listening and you want to check out our happy hour that we're hosting at ETH Denver, please send me a message. But at NFT Paris, our team members are just here kind of participating. I before coming to this, I was at the Rug Radio house and hanging out with some of the folks at Rug Radio and Decrypt. There's a ton of great presentations going on there. Actually, before I jumped in here, Art Blocks was presenting at Rug Radio House, and there's just a lot of like energy and excitement here in Paris right now, because I think what it feels like is we're jumping into this conference and kind of conference season at the same time that we're seeing a lot of excitement in the space. There's a lot more energy, a lot more I don't know, it's like bubbling under the surface. And I think what we're going to start to see is like this kind of bull market not come back in a way, because I don't think we're going to go back to what we saw in 2021. I think really what we're going to start to see is a new type of bull market with sustainability in mind, where it's not just about price go up, price go down, and you get your PFPs and you swap and you trade and you try to make money. But I think what we're starting to see is like real life utility happen through NFTs. A lot like what Marco is talking about. Like what does an NFT mean to the everyday user, for the everyday kind of average person, the normies that we call them in this space? Well, I think for a lot of us, what this means is like an opportunity to reclaim ownership, where with rising mortgage prices, and you rent your car, and you have a lease, and you have your major school debt, and all these things, it's like the very concept of ownership is slipping through our fingers. And so there's so much like potential and excitement in blockchain technology and through NFTs, where I think people are starting to like understand this is a chance to reclaim ownership, which is a tangent from what we're asking, but like the mindset and I think the excitement that's happening here at NFT Paris is people are starting to see the bigger picture. They're starting to understand like there's more to this than just what we've already seen. We've seen some very like low-hanging fruit use cases, and I think we're going to start to see more of that kind of come. And hearing these artists, hearing these kind of builders, hearing some people like Marco who are talking about like real life impactful use cases that can help to shape the way that society transacts at a bank, like that becomes really powerful. And so I know there's a lot of energy and excitement here at NFT Paris. ETH Denver will be the same. Yeah, and things that I'm looking forward to seeing, kind of all of it. The Mochaverse team is throwing on a great event that we're going to tomorrow. I'm going to a book signing tonight from a bunch of authors that collaborated on a book. There's a lot of like side events that are really fun. I think probably most of it is just like kind of jumping in and meeting folks that you've only met online for a long time. So that's kind of my NFT Paris approach.
Yeah, that's the vibe. Sounds super exciting. Thank you for sharing. Marco, I saw you unmuted, so please go ahead. I'm trying not to be. Yeah, I'm trying to
Thanks for that.
moderator.
I actually wanted to add something on what James said, and I think he's absolutely right. I mean, we are coming out of 2 years of bear market, and I appreciate the fact that he doesn't want to call it the beginning of a bull market. Let's not try to jinx it. Let's say that we were starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But the bottom line is, despite these 2 years, the last couple of years have hurted the whole community, have been painful to survive and keep going. What, on the positive side, what they did, they made the whole industry more mature, more conscious, and clean out of bad players. Look at the two people that we have on this panel. They created marketplaces that are based on quality. And this is what the market is all about. Rug pull, people acting from offshore jurisdiction, trying to make a quick bucks and scamming people are going to get pushed out of this market. Thanks to hopefully people like the four of us on this call, so pushing quality over quantity and making a quick buck.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I love the direction you're talking about. I just want to jump also to Jessica, so they could tell us more about NFT Paris and Art Dubai. Is super exciting. In real life, events at Web3 are always something you're always willing and wanting to attend because of this possibility to meet real people in real life, and most of the time you sit at home and you work without actually seeing real people.
That's very true. That's very true. And thank you. So in Paris, in addition to the works that I mentioned on the secondary market and the private sale capacity, we're also going to be working for the first time, and we're very excited to be partnering with Thank You X. And he has created a unique work called Alchemy of Time. And the unveiling is going to take place at NFT Paris. It's also going to be accompanied by limited edition prints. So another thing that we're very bullish on facilitating and incorporating into our drops and releases are, the kind of idea of phygital or pairing physical unlockables with the digital acquisitions. And we have a great now flow that enables people to very seamlessly do that, entering in their shipping information and the fulfillment side, where we're hoping hoping to get even better as we move along. But Thank You X will be doing the unique work and the prints. We are also collaborating with the autonomous artist Botto. We have been doing more work with the Botto team, really love working with them, and they are also going to be offering limited edition prints in celebration of NFT Paris, and it's going to be a print of a work from Botto's Genesis period. So another thing that we're seeing, I know we'll talk about trends maybe a little later, but in terms of grails and blue chip and early NFT and early crypto art, digital art and computer art is many, many decades old, of course, but I think we're seeing more interest in collecting circles also in early projects and early NFTs. So I'm very excited to be working with Sarah Mayohas in Dubai. So shifting over to Dubai for a moment, Sarah is an incredible artist that I've been following in the traditional art world for, almost 10 years now. As a conceptual artist and multidisciplinary artist, she has worked in many mediums, from photography, to even painting, but more so recently with different technologies, with AI, with generative adversarial networks, with GANs. And I curated a presentation with her to debut in Dubai. It's called Flowers in the Desert. And we are going to be showing works from her Liquid Speculation series, which were launched in 2017 and were tied to the cryptocurrency that she founded almost as a precursor to NFTs. It was called Bitcoin, and they were tied to fractionalized parts of her Liquid Speculations photographs. So this is an early project that we are now releasing one-of-ones from, and collectors will also receive a Bitcoin etched ledger wallet with the purchase of that, the digital versions. We're also going to be showing a seminal piece from her Infinite Petals series. And this is a kind of a long project that she's been working on for several years, and created with a generative model trained on a data set of 100,000 physical rose petals. It's a beautiful work. It's fluid, it's elegant, it's fascinating. It was recently part of the Chanel Culture Fund's public art project called The Window. And this was on view in the Time and Life building in London. So it's going to be a fantastic presentation by a really cutting edge artist in a place where I think it will really resonate, the aesthetics of the works as well. In Dubai, we are also partnering with Layla Heller Gallery, a gallery that I used to be a director of here in New York, and it has outposts in New York and Dubai. They actually have the largest gallery space in the Middle East on Al Serkal Avenue, which I'm looking forward to finally visiting. And their presentation is going to include works by Sharouk Amin, who is a MakersPlace artist from Kuwait. And she is going to be presenting new works that are digital and they have physical paintings. She's a painter, first and foremost. Was the first actually Kuwaiti painter to ever sell anything at auction at Christie's. And she's been in the Venice Biennale. Really amazing artist. So she's going to be debuting works there that will be presented by Layla, but available for purchase on MakersPlace. So very excited about that. And thank you for letting me chat about it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And as you've been talking, I felt like whenever you do some kind of digital collection, you always add some kind of a physical component to it. Even based on our experience at LiveArt, we do NFT collection, and we always do physical prints that our collectors can choose whether to purchase or not, and they're usually also signed physically by the artist. And Jessica, I think you have just beautiful curatorial background to explain us why are we tending to add physical segment to these digital artworks usually.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think it makes sort of the mental leap into collecting digital art a little more accessible for those who are used to having something tactile that they can hang on their wall or display in their space. I think it also sort of you know, even if it's just a digital twin, if it's just a print of the actual NFT, it can serve to showcase it in different mediums. One can walk around with you in your pocket. The other one can be prominently displayed in your home. So I think it's something that collectors definitely appreciate. And I think artists as well like the ability to experiment in the different mediums. And they both have value. And then you have secondary sales and future sales and markets for two works in different mediums, in different ecosystems. Typically in the primary market, you know, whoever purchases the physical work, that will stay with them. So when you resell the digital piece, you're only reselling the digital version, but then you can, of course, as the artist continues to grow in popularity and their market continues to expand, you know, down the line, you can sell the painting or the print at auction or privately. We just had a show here in New York last night, works by Indira Cesarine, and she is also a photographer who launched her Genesis NFT project of animated black and white dancer photography and on MakersPlace. And the reception was incredible. And people who, you know, her print collectors were very enthusiastic about purchasing her prints because they knew and loved her work, her photographic prints. And then with that, you know, they entered for the first time the NFT market and purchased their first NFT. And I think once we start to get that collecting bug, it's just, you know, onwards and upwards from there. So it's also a way to grow the collector base for many of these artists.
Yeah, this is actually super relevant and beautiful case study. Thank you for sharing it. Exactly. And it kind of reminds me what Damien Hirst did with the currency project in a way, but you were obliged to choose to pick between either physical or digital artwork. Yeah. So let's just actually jump into trends. Marco, if you can tell us from your background, from your experience, what are some major primary trends you observe in the market right now in the space, and maybe some predictions for this year regarding it?
So I would say in general for the overall blockchain world, where we see the majority of the flow and interest from projects creating real world assets is dominating the scene. No doubt about that. From the tokenization of properties, commodities, or financial products. London being a financial capital of the world, we've seen a lot of projects involving bonds, tokenization, securities, etc., etc. When it comes to NFT, I have to say I'm extremely excited. I'm a strong believer on the piece of technology, and as mentioned before, more adoption can only be good for the creators as well. Where do we see movement? We still see the music industry growing quite a lot in embracing NFTs. We haven't seen as much movement as we hoped for from writers and the movie industries. We were hoping to see more by now, more movement on their front, but we are sure that now with the beginning of a better market, they will see more adoption there. And then on a daily basis, we are experiencing a new and creative way to use it. We've seen a major, we cannot mention the name, but probably one of the biggest German bank in the space using NFTs to create membership access and almost ID verification and storage of information. So that has been extremely cool. Just this morning, I was reading a news about a company. I need to refresh my mind about the name. It's AEM Algorithm that launched Mr. Journaler. And what they're doing, they are a Web3 accounting firm. What they're using NFT for is to store data about your accounting information, so your accounting history, so everything is clear and transparent, and you can declare your taxes in a more in a faster way as well. So we do see more and more adoption throughout the space. I actually, if you don't mind me asking a question, I would like to ask Jessica, where geographically, where do you see more interest and more artists popping up in the space? That would be interesting for me.
Pardon me. That's a great question. I mean, certainly, you know, because of the digital and remote nature of the business, we're able to tap into a more global, both collector base and artist base. You know, I will say that, you know, there's a lot of creators here in New York and kind of the major art hubs in the United States, New York, Miami, you know, LA, you know, Los Angeles, Chicago, you know, you were kind of, those are kind of the obvious, but then also, you know, in Europe, lots in Paris, actually. Lisbon is another big hub. In Hong Kong, when we were out there, we were overwhelmed by the interest in Asia, specifically in Singapore, Hong Kong, China, and Seoul, Korea. So we also had an incredible accelerator program that we did that Osinachi spearheaded, where we invited artists from Africa to submit some of their first NFT projects ever, and there was an overwhelming, incredible amount of quality artwork that came through that incubator program. So really globally, and the short answer would be, you know, logically in some of the major art hubs, but then maybe in some of the other, maybe more less developed art markets, we're seeing that as well. So it's encouraging, and we need to keep our finger on that pulse. I think that's why it's important to continue to, you know, to travel to different locations and meet the talent out there.
Exactly. And so Marco, you mentioned either writers and cinematography, and I felt like I know just a few writers who are developing the Web3 space. I would name Sasha Stiles, Anna Maria Caballero, and every time I see their artworks, it feels like they're the true pioneers in the space, and I think it would also take some time for this particular movement to adapt and develop further. And for the cinematography, so OpenAI is basically the company who owns ChatGPT. They actually just launched Sora. You would be basically able to write a prompt, super detailed, and what you would get in return, powered by AI, completely beautifully looking video. And I was so impressed by it, because it is super known that videography is the hardest thing to product. And the way this technology is revolutionized right now is just extremely beautiful, and how we see it democratized as well too. Yeah, and with this, I just want to jump to Marco, Jessica. How do you think, what are your predictions, outlook for the space, for the future of the market? I think we would be just talking about the year 2024. How do you feel about it?
Jessica, you want to go first?
Sure. I think actually Marco's kind of predictions and the trends that you outlined were really spot on, and I actually completely, you know, agree with them. I think, you know, tokenizing of real world assets and a stronger link between the physical and digital assets is something that's definitely going to continue to pick up momentum. But, you know, in my immediate field, it is really about the arts. So I'll speak more on that sense. You know, we're seeing more interest in dynamic NFTs. This is not necessarily a new technology, but, you know, NFTs with smart contract logic built in that can change the metadata based on external conditions is something that more artists are keen to experiment with. So we are also kind of evolving this capability on MakersPlace and are excited to launch some cool projects in that space. Generative art continues to be a very popular collecting category. We also have some exciting announcements to make on that front, partnerships and integrations that we're building hopefully in a couple months in the spring. So that's also, you know, going to be a focus. And then I think in terms of the, you know, the curation of really quality works and the scarcity and the kind of quality over quantity mentality, people wanting to acquire early NFT and blockchain art, and collect pieces by trailblazers in the space is continuing. I mean, that demand I think is going to stay. And yeah, I mean, I think those are some great trends and outlook. I mean, just like in general, I think the outlook is very strong. I think the interest continues to grow in the space. It is still so early. We're still in kind of the early adopter phase, I think, but the more publicity some of these big sales gets, like the recent autoglyph sale, you know, that went into a private collection for, I think it was 5,000 ETH. You know, as these sort of numbers start to go out there and people in, you know, reading non-art or non-crypto periodicals start to get wind of this, I think more attention will be paid to it, more interest will come. And I think things like this, these webinars, and again, thank you to LiveArt for hosting it, the educational aspect and just explaining what's going on in the space. I think it's so important, and it will just continue to bring people in, and we'll be good.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, and I think what Olin is doing is great exactly because of that, putting people together, talking about it, see what the trends are, is what is going to support the whole ecosystem. Personally, I think we are going to see more and more cross-pollination when it comes to art and artificial intelligence. I might be wrong. I'm sure I will, and maybe the trend might change at a later stage. There is a lot of excitement, so people are going to try and implement artificial intelligence at different level. But as we're talking about arts, the beauty lies on the creativity of the single individual. So we might see full collection created by the artificial intelligence, and I'm sure that the quality is going to blow our mind. But it wouldn't surprise me if a little bit further down the line, we will get back to the basic. We'll get back into appreciating what an artist and the human emotion can create.
Thank you so much. I think those were beautiful thoughts, and I completely agree. And I really appreciate you highlighting the idea of education and talks and its importance for this space. I think we are running out of time. If there is anything else, Marco and Jessica, you would like to share, please go ahead. And our listeners on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, it's like we are almost restreaming everywhere. If you have any questions, please go ahead. It's your time to type them in, and we would just put them on a screen and answer. Yeah. Okay, let me also check our Twitter if we have anyone wondering about anything. Okay. Thank you so much, Jessica, Marco. Any final thoughts you want to share?
On my end, thanks a lot for having us. It's been beautiful. It's been great to meet Jessica and James that we lost half the way through. For the audience, I would say it's a beautiful space that you are creating and that you are working to. There are a lot of hidden complexity, sometimes connected to regulations, sometimes connected to taxes or other element. So don't hesitate to get in touch. We are here to help you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's great. And yes, just echoing Marco's sentiments, really appreciate being here, being able to share some of the exciting things, you know, we're doing at MakersPlace, but also to meet all of you. And yeah, I would say also, you know, I think we're going to share our contact details afterwards, or if anybody has questions, feel free to be in touch. Or if you're going to be in Paris or Dubai and would like tickets to these fairs, you can email me, jessica@makersplace.com, and we can sort that out for you. And just thank you again.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Marco, Jessica, and also James. I feel like this even couldn't have been more beautifully made lineup of speakers to talk about Web3 marketplace and new trends. And Marco, your inputs on financial advices were extremely beautiful, especially as a person who is a little bit far away from this part of the space. Thank you for sharing it. And to our audience, also thank you for finding time to join us today. And next week we will meet at the same time on Thursday with the LiveArt team to discuss our team's accomplishments of the month and our plans for the month of March. Thank you, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.